Bruce Lee's sudden death at the prime of his life and career left the whole world reeling in shock. Since that heartbreaking day 52 years ago, countless pilgrims have come to pay their respects to the grave of their favorite martial arts legend, honoring the peaceful remains of their hero. But when workers recently opened the tomb for maintenance, what they found shattered that peace and generated new shockwaves that soon made headlines for a truly unexpected reason. Bruce Lee's path to becoming a global icon began in San Francisco's Chinatown, where he was born while his father's Chinese opera company was on tour. Named Lee Junfan, meaning return again, he embodied this name throughout his life, constantly returning to push boundaries and redefine possibilities. His early years in Hong Kong shaped his character profoundly, particularly during his studies under the legendary Wing Chun master Ip Man. The streets of Hong Kong taught young Bruce his first lessons about survival and determination. Despite coming from a privileged background as the son of a famous opera star, he often found himself in street fights, leading him to seek formal martial arts training under Ip Man's guidance. From Ip Man, Bruce learned not just fighting techniques, but the philosophy that would later influence his own martial arts innovation. After returning to America at 18, Lee transformed martial arts teaching by breaking traditional barriers. In an era when martial arts schools typically accepted only Chinese students, Bruce opened his doors to anyone willing to learn. His first school in Seattle's Chinatown attracted a diverse group of students, including Jesse Glover, his first student in America, and Linda Emery, who would later become his wife. His journey from martial arts instructor to television star began when he caught the attention of Hollywood producers at a karate tournament in Long Beach. His role as Kato in The Green Hornet introduced him to American audiences, but it was his determination to create authentic martial arts films that would truly capture the world's imagination. Despite facing racism and skepticism in Hollywood, Bruce persevered, returning to Hong Kong to make films that proved his star power. Movies like The Big Boss and Fist of Fury broke box office records across Asia. His philosophy of using no way as way and having no limitation as limitation resonated with audiences worldwide. However, his sudden death in Hong Kong left many questions unanswered. Bruce Lee's death on July 20, 1973, was as sudden as it was mysterious, sending shockwaves across the world. At just 32 years old, he was at the peak of his career, having shattered cultural barriers in martial arts and revolutionized the film industry. His sudden passing left countless fans, friends, and family members devastated and searching for answers. Bruce had collapsed earlier that day at the home of actress Betty Ting Pei, with whom he had been discussing a script. He was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced dead upon arrival. The official cause of death was recorded as cerebral edema, an excess of fluid on the brain, though rumors and conspiracy theories about foul play or an allergic reaction to painkillers continued to linger. Bruce's death at such a young age, just as his star was rising globally, seemed almost tragic in its timing. He had become more than just an actor. He had become a global icon, a symbol of breaking racial and cultural barriers. His sudden departure left a void in the world of martial arts and entertainment, and his untapped potential only added to the sorrow surrounding his passing. Amid the grief, Linda Lee, his wife, faced the emotional challenge of choosing where Bruce would rest. While Hong Kong, the place where Bruce had achieved his greatest success, seemed fitting, Linda chose to lay him to rest in Seattle, where they had built their life together. This decision sparked some controversy at the time, but it was deeply personal. Seattle held special meaning for the Lee family. It was where Bruce had founded his martial arts school and where he had truly found his purpose as a teacher and philosopher. The tomb where Bruce was buried became a symbol not only of his tragic and early death, but also of his lasting impact on martial arts and cinema. Fans from around the world continue to make pilgrimages to the site, leaving flowers and personal tributes to the man who taught them to be like water and to live without limitations. In death, as in life, Bruce Lee remains a figure whose influence transcends boundaries, inspiring millions to pursue greatness without compromise. His tomb at Lakeview Cemetery serves as a reminder of his legacy, an eternal mark left by a man who defied expectations both in life and in death. While Bruce Lee is primarily remembered as a martial artist and actor, his impact on social progress during the 1960s and early 1970s remains a lesser-known aspect of his legacy. In an era marked by racial tension and social upheaval, Lee quietly but firmly challenged the status quo through both his actions and his philosophy. His martial arts schools were among the first to openly welcome students of all races and backgrounds, a radical departure from the traditional exclusivity of martial arts instruction at the time. Li's integration of different fighting styles and rejection of rigid boundaries wasn't just about combat. It reflected his larger vision of breaking down cultural barriers. In Hollywood, he constantly pushed back against stereotypical Asian roles and advocated for authentic representation. When offered roles that perpetuated negative stereotypes, he famously turned them down, even when doing so meant passing up much-needed income during his early career struggles. His television appearances, particularly on The Green Hornet, marked one of the first times an Asian actor portrayed a complex, capable character on American television. Though cast as a sidekick, Li's portrayal of Kato left such an impression that in many Asian markets, the show was renamed The Kato Show. Behind the scenes, Li mentored students from various backgrounds, including several prominent African-American martial artists, during a time of great racial tension. His friendship with basketball legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, whom he trained and later featured in Game of Death, demonstrated his commitment to crossing cultural boundaries. Li saw martial arts as a universal language, one that could bridge divides between people of different backgrounds and beliefs. Beyond the screen, Bruce Li's influence extended far beyond cinema. In the years before his death, Li was developing a comprehensive approach to human development that integrated physical conditioning, mental discipline, and philosophy. His personal library contained hundreds of books on martial arts, philosophy, psychology, and human anatomy, revealing the depth of his intellectual pursuits. Li's training methods were revolutionary. He rejected rigid traditional forms, emphasizing adaptability and efficiency instead. His famous quote, "Absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, add what is specifically your own," became a cornerstone principle not just for martial artists, but for anyone seeking self-improvement. His approach to physical fitness, combining martial arts, weight training, running, and flexibility work, anticipated the modern mixed martial arts and cross-training movement by decades. Through his writings and interviews, Li articulated a philosophy that went beyond combat and physical training. His concept of being like water, adaptable, fluid, and capable of taking any form while maintaining its essential nature, resonated deeply with people across cultures. It wasn't just about fighting. It was about approaching life with flexibility and authenticity, finding one's own path while remaining true to one's nature. Bruce Li was laid to rest at Lakeview Cemetery on July 31, 1973, following a private ceremony attended by family and close friends. The location overlooking Seattle's peaceful landscape was chosen carefully by Linda Li, reflecting both Bruce's connection to the city and his love for its natural beauty. Hollywood stars James Coburn and Steve McQueen, both students and friends of Bruce, served as pallbearers, demonstrating how Li had transcended the boundaries between martial arts and Hollywood. His polished granite tombstone featured his image and his famous philosophy. The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering. The tragic addition of his son Brandon Li's grave beside his own in 1993 brought an even deeper layer of poignancy to the site. Brandon, who had just begun to establish himself as a successful actor, was fatally shot on the set of The Crow when a prop gun was improperly loaded. His death, like his father's, was sudden and shocking. Together, their graves stand as emotional symbols of both triumph and tragedy. The extraordinary impact they made on martial arts, entertainment, and culture, and the deep sorrow of their untimely deaths. A little over 50 years after Bruce Li was buried, the City Council of Seattle kindly asked Linda Li for permission to open the tomb and perform routine maintenance. The request left the aging widow momentarily speechless. She was about to relive one of the most painful moments of her life, but she knew Bruce would have wanted her to agree. As the date approached, Lakeview Cemetery transformed into a carefully controlled preservation site. A climate-controlled structure was built around the tomb, special lighting installed, and tight security enforced. Only authorized personnel were allowed entry. Linda provided detailed information about the tomb's contents, recalling specific items placed within it and their meaning. Non-invasive surveys using ground-penetrating radar mapped the interior, and environmental sensors monitored conditions. Everything was sterilized to prevent contamination. When the day arrived, Buddhist monks performed a traditional ceremony before the work began. The inspection team carefully removed the tomb's outer seal, a process that took several hours. The materials, remarkably, showed minimal signs of deterioration after half a century. The tomb had been expertly designed, with multiple layers of protection ensuring exceptional preservation. When the team finally entered the chamber, they were astonished by what they saw. The air was still, heavy with reverence, and a faint scent of sandalwood lingered from the original burial ceremony. Everything inside appeared almost untouched by time. The wooden elements had barely aged, the silk fabrics retained their color, and even delicate paper items and photographs were intact. Among the most striking discoveries were Bruce's personal belongings. His iconic nunchaku from Enter the Dragon lay preserved, its wooden handles still polished. His first Wing Chun training manual was there too, filled with handwritten notes in both Chinese and English, evidence of his lifelong mission to unite East and West. But the most moving discovery came when the preservation team found a collection of sealed letters. These were farewell messages from those closest to Bruce, written before his burial. Linda's letters to her husband were especially touching, expressions of grief, love, and her promise to carry on his legacy. Some letters spoke of their shared dreams and hopes for their children, while others grew more determined, vowing to preserve Bruce's teachings for future generations. Yet one letter stood apart. It was sealed with red wax bearing a symbol of two intertwined dragons. When the team opened it, they found a message written by Bruce himself, in his distinctive handwriting, just days before his death. The note read, "To those who will carry the flame, if you are reading these words, know that the journey we began together never ends. The limitations you perceive are illusions of the mind. Be water. Flow through obstacles. Adapt to challenges. Find strength in your formlessness. But above all, remember this. Your true path emerges not from following my way, but from discovering your own. Empty your cup so that it may be filled with your own wisdom." The discovery left everyone in stunned silence. It was as if Bruce had reached through time to deliver one final lesson. The opening of Bruce Lee's tomb did more than satisfy historical curiosity. It provided a powerful reminder of how one individual's influence can transcend generations. The discoveries within showed that beyond the legend was a man deeply loved by his family and revered by millions. As his daughter Shannon Lee later said, "What we found isn't just surprising. It's proof that a life lived with purpose creates ripples that continue long after we're gone." Even after 5 decades, Bruce Lee's words continue to inspire people around the world to move fluidly through life, to adapt, to evolve, and to discover their own path. His legacy remains eternal, because Bruce Lee truly lived a life worth remembering. What do you think about these incredible discoveries? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on Bruce Lee's lasting impact and the secrets his tomb revealed.